Good evening. I will call the Public Service Committee meeting to order at 6:30. We have two agenda items. The first one being order number 22108710. It's an application for Dish Wireless by Dish Wireless to install 3 antennas on an existing tower. And for especially the people out in the audience there, that tower is down at the Eastleigh treatment plant. It's a platform there, and they're going to put 3 antennas on. And I thought it was kind of interesting that Dish Wireless is kind of a new company, and where some of these other companies have merged and taken over. That's the story in that. The second item we'll take up tonight will be the order number 22108739. That's a petition of Mass Electric to install a push brace off of pole 18 on Mechanic Street, which is needed to support the pole with wires going down Manning Street. We've spent a lot of time on this the last couple of days talking to the city engineer. And I think as our discussion goes tonight, we could very well have an amendment to this particular order, but we'll get to that. So I guess we're all set. You're representing
Dish Wireless?
Just give us a little more history. I kind of enjoy that you people were created because of the fact of a merger.
Yep. So when T-Mobile acquired Sprint back in...
Not more than 2 minutes now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you the abridged version. This was about 2 years ago when T-Mobile purchased Sprint Wireless. It went from having 4 national carriers down to 3. And as you know, more competition drives lower prices, and being able to develop a national footprint, as Dish Wireless already has a lot of fiber in the ground, a lot of ability to bring a national network into the foreplan, they decided to raise money and proceed with the program. They're, say, about halfway done in densifying the city areas, and now they're sort of branching out and going into the more rural areas and growing their footprint so that wireless customers can travel from city to city and still have seamless coverage without relying on the other carriers to support the Dish Wireless network. In front of us today, the location that they're looking to co-locate on is an existing structure. It's on 860 Boston Post Road. It's a town-owned property. The tower itself, 144 feet. Dish looks to install 3 antennas and 6 radios at the 96-foot rad center. We are also looking to expand the chain link fence by 13 by 13, about 10 feet high. And it's a simple program, a simple project. They're installing these all over the state, all over the country. So with that, really here, thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good. It's kind of interesting. I often wonder, actually your company is from Colorado?
Colorado,
yeah.
Yes, that's your headquarters.
How did you find that platform down on the Eastern treatment plant?
So American Tower is a partner, is a nationwide partner, and when any carrier is looking to develop a footprint, they go to the tower owners that have the most assets, Tower, Crown Castle, and ATC, or American Tower, said here are our addresses, here's where we have available rad centers that you guys can co-locate on. This happens to work. It gives Dish the ability to reach a certain amount of population, and that's how they come up with those types of decisions.
Okay, very good. Well, that gives my colleagues here and certain of the people at home a little background on that. We got to get down to what we're here for. The first thing I do want to do, though, is we're going to vote for an extension. As you know, it's granting authority should make decision within 90 days. Well, 90 days is almost here, and secretary gets a little nervous there if we had a snowstorm or something like that. So what we're going to do, committee, is vote to extend this agreement to February 27th, 2023 at 10 p.m. because, you know, we have a meeting next Monday, and then we have one more meeting then, so we should protect ourselves.
Want me to make that motion now, Mr. Chair?
Make that motion that we extend this agreement.
I'll make the motion to extend the agreement, to extend time limitations to February 27th, 2023.
At 10 p.m.
At 10 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Might still be here, John. Do I have a second coming?
Second.
Second, all in favor? There, carries 3-0. Okay, that's the big thing, get out of the way. Okay, so you're gonna take this platform and put 3 antennas on there,
Correct.
and it's on city property.
Correct.
And the only thing you're gonna hear me mention soon is that one condition, we have to make sure that the Department of Public Works and their trucks and their equipment and their guides during the construction, you know, they can get in and out without interruption. So, other than that, it should go pretty well. How long will it take them to do a project like that?
It's very simple. This is a week in and out to get the installation completed.
I didn't hear that, was that?
It's about a week's construction.
Really well, huh?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
maybe another couple of days to turn it up and
Yeah.
run some tests, do some drive tests, make sure that it's propagating in the right areas.
Okay. The public hearing went very well. Nobody spoke in opposition, which not surprising. One citizen did ask whether the antennas were just for mobile phones, and I believe the answer to that was yes. I don't know
Correct.
what difference that would make. And then that's probably it. As I say, the one condition that we'll have to make sure that the site where it is at the treatment plant, that they would be able to get in and out. And then the other condition would be that a pre-construction bid meeting should be held with the Department of Public Works to discuss access to the site during the construction.
Absolutely.
So those are the 2 conditions. Okay, how about some of my colleagues? Do you people have some questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, one of the concerns was during the public hearing that was answered, that it's going to be for mobile use. I don't really have much concern going forward. It is an existing site, Mr. Chair. I do thank the city engineer DePercio for putting these conditions. Very important to have that condition number 8 in there. So that answers any of the questions that I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Councilor Brown.
No questions.
Okay, Councilor Katie.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm sorry, it just occurred to me as I was sitting here thinking about it. Will we receive income from these cells like we do other cell carriers on towers?
That's a good question, and quite honestly, I just assumed we would.
Did the other ones have it in their special permits? I know I certainly wasn't a counselor when this original permit, I would have looked it up, but I just thought of it.
You know,
Mr. Chair?
Mr. President, he's the money guy. I bet he can help us out on this.
Yeah, no, it's not part of the special permit, but they do pay, I don't know, I think it's a $1,500 annual fee that the Department of Public Works collects for them, because that's that transfer that we get annually, usually it's $18,000 that we move over to the stabilization account at the end of the fiscal year. So they'll work that out with the applicant.
Okay, I just didn't want him to be blindsided by something he wasn't aware of.
Nope, that's very traditional. In the case where this is a town-owned property, the tower is actually owned by American Tower. It all depends on what the lease between American Tower and the town is, and I've seen them in many different forms, so to this one I couldn't really speak to, because I haven't looked at it.
And then the only other question was, do you think as you grow, or as you see the need, will you add cells onto other towers that we have in this city?
I've been working with Dish in the last 8 to 9 months, and we haven't put up any new towers. It's typically going and finding these existing structures, making sure they fit the footprint that we're looking to cover and co-locating on that. And that's primarily because of cost and speed to market. We understand that putting up a new tower, it's a 2-year process, and the faster we can get through the process, the better for Dish to be able to offer its services.
Okay, but we do have other towers. I mean, they're not on city property, but they do exist, so.
Absolutely. And if this is the first Dish, if this is the first Dish application that's come through Marlborough, I would be surprised. I'm a little bit surprised, I should say. I would imagine that as they're installing in one location, they run some tests, make sure that they're getting network, and then they want to be able to, all their networks to be able to connect, right? So if you're driving down the street, you should have that handoff kind of seamless, and the only way to do that is to co-locate on multiple towers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We have several, the city owns others, Fairmont Hill and Miles Standish and so forth, on water tanks. Can you see this company being interested in getting on those?
Absolutely. Densification and capacity control or capacity management is the backbone of any good network. The only way for them to grow is to be able to offer its services is to build these cell sites and be able to offer that footprint and advertise that footprint to a municipality or its constituents.
Because quite honestly, I was thinking, if we were talking about putting up a tower, they'd be up there, they'd be up there, they'd be down the street.
Absolutely.
We've had some of that, and they had misconceptions, but they also, even the government realizes that we need, good communications. But this makes a lot of sense. So if we were putting an additional antenna at Fairmont Hill or Miles Standish or something like that, I don't think there'll be any more people there than that's here now,
Yeah, absolutely. So the advantage Dish has at this stage in its development is the blueprint is already built by the other 3 carriers. They know where the coverage is needed, and that's where they look. And that's why you see just about all these towers will have all the carriers on, right? Whether it's AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, all co-located in the same space. They're all looking to reach the same population, and Dish is going to follow the same pattern.
Okay, any more comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
No, you can you make the motion.
Thank you, sir.
Gotta get you guys involved. I brought you out of your house at night.
Good teamwork.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion to approve order number 22-100-8710 with the updated conditions, Mr. Chair.
Conditions added.
With the
Okay.
updated condition.
Very good.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor? 3-0, it does carry. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Okay, let's see, let me get my pile of paper straightened here. Okay, I guess we're ready to move on. Councilor Rowan, do you want to move up to the table here, or do you want to? It's best the microphones are up here. Geez, more paper, okay. More paper. Thank you, sir. Yeah, those are the stakes I checked out the last couple of days. Couple of these are interesting. I might have a question on that. Okay, so we are taking up order number now, 22108739. And this is, we had the public hearing. There's a few people that spoke at the public hearing, and in particular, one of the property owners at 115 Hannock Street. And it's centered around pole 18 is the one on Mechanic, and if you look at it, you can tell it's kind of top-heavy. So, National Grid, are you the representative from National Grid? Do you want to sit up here too? You know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you can sit down if you want. How did you determine, you guys ride around looking at poles, figuring that that pole is kind of top-heavy, it has a lot of wires on it, it has a lot of transformers on it?
Yeah, the tension, the weight that's on there,
And no, you just gotta speak up close to it, it's pull close to you.
Hear me all right? So yeah, it's determined by the tension on the lines, the weight of the equipment that's on those facilities that are out there. A lot of these facilities, as we know, have been there since the 50s, and they've been established. The buildings have gone up since then. So you kind of, a lot of times, have to work with what space you're working with between the owners, the customer's land and the city land. And I think that's kind of what they're running into here, is there's only so much footage to work with without affecting too many angles, and then anchoring in the street or going across the street with another support pole that's maybe in front of someone's door, you know, things of that nature. It's a very tight corner right there. Looks like pole 18's just off of the sidewalk, kind of meeting at the crosswalk. So that's probably why they put it a couple feet off of that. So again, if it is determined that where the stakes are.
Okay, you want in closer to the mic after that? Yeah, you gotta be actually talking right into this thing.
Okay.
TV audience.
Yeah, so has it been determined where the stakes currently are, the change that was made? Is that town property? Do we know?
That's gonna be an important point.
Right.
You know, whether it's,
I didn't know if you guys had determined the town take. Is it 5 feet off the street? Is it 8 feet off the street? Where does your
I
land?
have to talk to, you're not picking him up, are you?
No, I just need the one microphone on him and then one microphone for him first.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I believe the recent communication from Mr. DePercio was a condition to be put into this, telling it's National Grid has to prove property versus, city property versus their property.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna read his latest that came out this afternoon at, I don't know, 2:21 or something like that. Yeah, I've gone by there a couple of times, and I was thinking the same thing, you know, where are they gonna go? And 2 stakes for the guide wires, and then the other blue marking on the curb is where the pole, I guess, would go.
Yes.
What did we determine? That's
So the
pole.
further stake away, that's straight up and down, that would be the pole. The one that's angled in front of it would be the anchor coming off of that to keep that one upright.
Yeah.
So
It's probably gonna come up later, but why does a new pole that's being put in, if we pass that tonight, why does it need guide wires?
well, because the tap line that's going down that street, it's gonna keep pulling that pole, and because of the weight and the tension going down that side street off the main road there, it's gonna keep pulling that pole, and there's transformers on that pole. So it's all about stability. We don't want to get to a point where, you know, we're having outages and things of that.
Now, you think eventually you'll try to put guide wires on the other 3 poles on Manning Street?
If the other ones don't require it, we won't. I mean, if they're now, and if everything's kind of straight line,
Yeah.
you know, it's not gonna need that. This one in particular needed it because it's going down a side street. It's tapping off of the main road. So you're pulling more tension, more weight going a different direction. It's gonna continue to make an unstable pole right there. So initially they wanted that push brace, which is basically a support pole off of that 18. and that was deemed to been, you know,
So
in
you're
the
gonna
way.
take a
or to-
lot of wires off of 18, and you're gonna take any transformers off of 18, you know?
No, I don't think they're taking transformers off of it. Not that I know of, unless there was in the main job. I'm not sure if it says. Let's see. No, I don't think, they're removing anything. There's some updates being made. They changed one of the transformer sizes on pole 19. Well, they are replacing the transformers that's on 18, I believe, if I'm reading this right, small, sorry. But, again, it's, with the tension and the weight on those lines going down the street, it's gonna continue to cause a leaning and possible issues down the road. So that's what they're looking to fix.
Those transformers, they have liquid inside, do they? Fluid, some type?
Yeah, oil, yeah,
And that's what makes them so heavy, huh? That's
Yeah,
it,
yeah. The mechanics of it, the oil, yeah. We want to have that as the most stable situation we can, so we don't have any fires and outages and things like that.
Okay.
So really it comes down to, you know, whether it was determined or not. Judging by that, I think there's a yellow sign right there about that spot, warning sign of some kind. So, I believe so, anyway. Thought I saw one. There's like a caution sign right there where the stakes are.
On Manning Street?
Yeah. What does that say? Oh, not a through street. There's a little yellow sign there. I assume that was staked on town property. The stakes are in line with that sign. So,
Well,
my only concern that's been brought up prior is any underground utilities to that building.
well, that's a concern of the landlord also, and
Sure.
I could see that. I think she was thinking maybe more the water coming in.
Right. So, I mean,
But you'll have DigSafe, you guys.
right, DigSafe, that's what they're there for, to check that out. If you did want to allow more time to really shore up clearances and locations, that's certainly possible. Then the customer could have that surveyed themselves if they want to, make sure they know where their lines and pipes are, mark it out so we know exactly
Well,
where
a
it is.
customer shouldn't have to go through that expense, though, or a
Well,
landlord.
if DigSafe does what they're supposed to do, it should be marked out properly, so there shouldn't be any issue there.
No, they've been around Marlborough a lot. I mean, right now, we're even cutting up Main Street, so we've had a lot of street cuttings.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far along the process they are, but you can always reach out to their office. I'm sure they have a record of what they've done.
Yeah. Well, that's something, you know, if we approve this tonight or next week, you know, that'll be one of the conditions. And, you know, you guys certainly aren't gonna move forward until you know the utilities.
No, until you guys are
You know,
voted on it, nothing
you know, we
happens.
see it in Boston every day, broken pipes.
Yeah.
Trouble is, in Boston, some of these pipes are 36 inches, so they must have a lot of water going through them, but,
Yeah, it gets tricky in the city
yeah.
areas where it's all
We
congested.
don't want Manning Street to look like the Niagara Falls going down to all those shops at the end there.
Right.
My colleagues, do you have any questions? He's gonna stay here, but any questions
yeah.
while he's on the floor right now?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two questions. First one in regards to the determination of looking at pole 18 and not making a determination of replacing that pole entirety. Is there a certain age limit on the particular pole? Because looking at, when I did a walk around, even some of the transformers, you know, they rust over time, and that is kind of dripping down on the sidewalk during a storm or whatever. There might be a normal process going forward with the age of the transformers. But I guess the determination is making that determination of not replacing that pole entirety.
They are,
Instead-
You talking about the one on Mechanic Street?
The one on Mechanic Street, in avoiding doing any kind of a guard at all.
well, they are calling to replace 18. They're upgrading the transformers there, some new transformers going in.
New transformers are going on
Yeah,
that?
and it says they are replacing pole 18. So they are bringing that all to.
Yeah, I assume
You
they
just don't want to,
would have
you just
replaced
don't want the same
18.
situation to come up again.
That was my concern. I didn't want to see that same situation.
Right, so the point is to try to get everything upgraded and cleaned up and
Okay.
stable, and then going forward, now you're talking much better line for years and years.
Okay, so going forward.
Yeah, but they are
Just-
18, 19, 20, 21, they're all getting replaced,
Okay,
that whole street.
okay.
You know, just backing up, I meant to mention it to you, but just to remind people at home and here, the reason we're talking, you know, changes on Manning Street, a new pole and guide widen, at the public hearing, our city engineer, who we listened to, and he had reservations at that time about, you know, just putting a, what they call it, push brace.
Thank you, thank you.
And that would have been a problem, and the landlord or the owner of the building had questions about that. Of course, I have questions about guide wires. I don't find them attractive. I find that they're potentially dangerous for kids that are riding their bike down the sidewalk. Now, I know sometimes, I think I saw one of the pictures here, you know, you put a yellow coating on it or plastic on there, which helps a little bit. You know, I'm very, you know, street conscious in a neighborhood, and I know I wouldn't, unfortunately, this is probably a good group for me to be chair of, because I live in a neighborhood that all wires are underground. But I don't like, you know, I don't like poles sticking up, I don't like guide wires, but poles are necessary, because that's how we survive, you know? Council Brown, oh, did I interrupted you?
No, that's fine, Mr.
Council Brown, do you have any
my
questions for him, and then we'll go to Councilor Roll and Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For me, I would just like some clarification. I just want to make sure, as we're moving forward from this point, that I have a full understanding of where we are actually at. So from the communications that I have provided from Attorney Rowe, thank you, and some of the communications from our engineer DePercio, I see that Mr. DePercio had sent communications earlier today. Is this something that is potentially we're moving forward on, or is this still very much in the planning stages? Like, are we still back at the drawing table?
Well, no, I think we're ready to move forward on it.
Okay.
That's why we're having this discussion, and we're gonna have as much discussion as we need. You know, I don't think we have to per se vote to do away with the push brace, but I think the consensus, starting with the engineer, and even the president got involved with that at the public hearing, indicating at the end of the public hearing that the National Grid and the city engineer, they were gonna get together and see if they could come up with a better alternative. I mean, the landlord or the owner of the property had a good point. You know, they didn't want this pole coming down at an angle, you know, up, you know, 4 or 5 feet from her structure. And there are some windows on the side of Manning Street, and there's windows on the front of, you know, the street there, Mechanic Street. So that's what we're trying to do, is satisfy that. And you know, those are good points brought up, you know? So we kind of gave it back, Council Brown, to the city, which is, you know, DePercio's a good man, and he talked to the National Grid, and they've come up with, when I think I've got several copies of this the last couple of days, and I went up there a couple times, because each time I said, well, how did that look? You know, and, you know, you gotta get those wires safe. Manning Street is, and I think those wires on Manning Street, they kind of go into that mini industrial park down there. There's some different types of automobile shops there, and, you know, they have some heavy equipment, and just charging batteries probably takes heavy equipment, you know? So, no, I hope we can come maybe to a consensus tonight, and then the full council would have an opportunity next week. I mean, we could put it off and put it off and put it off, but I don't think we're gonna come up with a better solution. Now, quite honestly, it probably would be a heck of a lot cheaper just to put the, you know, the push brace up. And I'm not saying that's what National Grid was looking for, but now, you know, they're getting into replacing pole 18. I imagine they replace some wires, and then all the containers that are up there. What do you say, they're rusty? I thought I noticed they were rusty.
They've been aged, yeah.
You know, and then an additional pole. My gut feeling is, when I went up there a couple of times, it's gonna be done right. It's gonna be done for the next several years. And even the guide wires, you know, National Grid must think they're necessary. Our city engineer must think they're necessary, because he's concurred with them. And I guess, you know, where they're so close to the house, whether it was a car hitting them or it's over the years, you know, you sure in heck wouldn't want that pole which could lean towards and land on the house, because, you know, when the pole moves, it brings wires with it, you know. So as lay people, we have to listen to National Grid, and our real source of support and knowledge is our city engineer. Katie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to be sure what's going on. I know I'm not on the committee, but I will ultimately vote on this. And as an at-large counselor, I know we have poles all over the city, and some are close to buildings, some are not close to buildings. So I understand the landlord's concern, and I understand where the engineer is coming from, making sure that this pole is on, not on private property, but on public property. So I think what the plan is included in Mr. DePercio's email from the 13th, but I don't see anything that talks about replacing pole 18. It just talks about it as an existing pole.
Right, replacing existing poles don't necessarily need to be brought to a hearing.
Okay.
It's added to the system. That's all.
All right, but I do believe he did indicate in his communication that he doesn't want the push brace. He wants support pole with wires going down Manning Street. So that is his recommendation.
And that came up really at the public hearing.
Right.
We kind of.
I don't think he likes push braces anywhere.
Who
So
does?
the engineer doesn't like
I mean,
them.
I don't
So-
think too many people do. They're necessary in some cases, and certainly the property owner didn't like it at all.
Right, but the
That's-
property owner, nor does any property owner want a pole falling on their property. So if it's heavy and it needs support, that I think is what we need to hear from our engineer. And if that's what he's saying, I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Councilor Attorney Rowe.
Mr. Chairman, members, first of all, BB Realty does not oppose this. We just want to give you some information. Andrea Beebe is here tonight also. I gave you a little packet here. And page 1 is the location of that pole 05. Now, frankly, tonight's the first time I've heard that pole 18 on Mechanic. And I agree that this pole probably should be replaced. And if it is, all the better. But still don't disagree with this second pole, which is the 05 pole, okay? But then you go on page 2, on the left-hand side is pole number 1 on Manning Street. And I bring your attention to that because if you notice, the bottom of the pole is on the street side of the sidewalk. Okay? Now you go to pole number 2 on Manning Street, which is number 3, and the pole is located on the street side of the sidewalk. It is our belief that pole 05 should be on the street side of the sidewalk. Now, in a discussion prior to this meeting, there was the question of the angle or whatever of pole 18 in relation to pole 0.5. If they're replacing pole 18 as well, there's no reason why this can't be corrected and do it what we feel is the right way of going down the street side of the sidewalk. And if they're putting up a new pole 18, maybe there's not the stress that's going to require the anchor. And if you wonder, pole number 1 on Mechanic Street happens to be Exhibit 4 here. And you see that pole with the anchor going up to the top of it. And then number 5 is a picture of the anchor in the middle of the sidewalk, which doesn't seem particularly safe, and maybe even not even ADA compliant if you have
Attorney
it.
Rowe, where is that number 5 that you, number 5, what?
Number 5 is pole number 1 on Mechanic Street, where it's in front of what is now the new Czech store.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On the beginning of West Main Street and Mechanic, as you start to go up Mechanic Street, that's pole number 1. And the only thing saving you from tripping over the anchor wire there is the fact that there's a street light pole that's in the way of everything.
Yeah.
So probably nobody's going to be hurt there. I wouldn't say the same.
That's a little concerning. I don't like the looks of that, and I don't like, they must have trouble, the Mechanic Street, they do snow removal on that. The sidewalk plow goes up there. I'm surprised they don't, bang into that occasionally. See, the other thing is, I think, knowing what they did in my neighborhood and other streets, they're putting the poles, in our case it was street lights, but they're putting the poles right on the property line in the sidewalks, rather than where you want to put them here on the street. And I think that is one for sidewalk plows, but also I think cars have a better chance of taking down a pole if it's right on the curbing, rather than 5 feet in. Most sidewalks are 5 feet,
And we never know what's going to happen in the future. And to have the pole right on the BB Realty property may interfere with any repairs, anything done on their property. And I attached number 6, which I assume you all got in your email today, because I talked to Tom DiPersio this afternoon, and he states that it's unclear where the stakes placed on the site are within the public way or on private property. And I think until that's decided, I would ask that you table this until we can have either the electric company or somebody decide where the new pole 18 is going to go and where this pole 0.05 is going to go. The plans submitted to you shows 2 blue circles, one the pole and secondly the new pole with an arrow on the guy wires, and it doesn't indicate on the plan whether it's on city property, the BB property, or anybody's property. It's just a sketch, I would say, of the line going down Mechanic and as it turns and goes down Manning Street. But it certainly is not a definitive plan by any means.
Well, I personally, I think, Attorney, we can take care of this by putting conditions. I mean, you know, we pass a lot of things every year, and if we put off, I'd rather say, okay, National Grid, these are the conditions, and you can't do it until you know, okay these conditions and you satisfy them, and that's what the engineer does, or his assistant. They check and make sure that they take the council order and they take the conditions, and I guess if they started putting it on maybe real estate property, you know, they'd have to take the pole down and do it again.
Well, we would request that, you know, the condition be that it be consistent and be on the street side of the sidewalk. That's what the other two poles on that same street are. And they're,
What poles are you talking, the new one they're putting in?
I'm sorry?
What poles are you talking about?
I'm talking about the 05 new pole.
That's the new pole, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
should go on the street side of the sidewalk,
Okay, and that certainly certainly could be a condition.
as is pole 1 and 2 on Manning Street.
Okay. And that's our rationale. I think we talked about that on the phone yesterday.
And if pole 18 has to be adjusted somehow, well, that's fine too, but
Well, pole 18's on Mechanic Street. and-
is on Mechanic Street, but they now say they're replacing it.
Yes, but
So
that
maybe they
will
could-
never be, that will always be where it is now, and that's
Well,
right on the street.
Well, that's also on the street side of
Yeah,
the sidewalk.
yeah. So that one's all right. So it's really the new number 5 that they're putting in, that the condition would take care of that it has to be on the street side of the sidewalk.
I mean, that would be the only condition we would request.
But the,
I assume that,
you can talk to your lawyer. You can talk to him. You can't talk to us. Talk to him.
Andrea has conditions that I think DigSafe and the city engineer and the water department, whatever, will be responsible for. She's concerned, because it always hasn't happened with properties that she's owned.
Okay, I didn't hear the first part of that. What's the first part of that now?
That the DigSafe,
So, point of
You know,
order,
come
Mr.
in.
President, Mr. Chair. So DigSafe does their job. I mean,
Yeah.
Andrea, I know you're concerned, but that's the process. They do it. If they don't, then it's a failure of the system. They have to do that. All right? So I don't want, we're not going to be putting those type of conditions in this
No,
permit. That's not called for.
but it's the communications between the Department of Public Works and National Grid. And as far as I know, you know, we've had it gone back to the drawing board a couple times, but usually it works out pretty well. And if it's not the chief engineer, like DePercio, it's one of his assistants that, you know, they go up there frequently. You know, we just had some new streets and sidewalks and curbings put in our neighborhood, and it's unbelievable how often that pickup truck went up and down. And the best part was when they first put the first coat of hot top down, I think the guy was from the state. He came down and measured the heat of that hot top. You know, so there's a lot of safeguards, and we want it right. We don't want any property owners to be unhappy, and we want it to last many years.
So, Mr. Chair,
Huh?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
so you have the city engineer saying standard conditions plus this, Grid has to determine where the property line is. So, you know, you can approve it with those conditions.
That's right.
With the emphasis that you want the pole on the street side of the sidewalk. It's gotta go up, it can't not go up. So, you know, now it becomes a safety issue, and I understand the tenants of the landlord's concerned, but we've got to make sure the poles aren't coming down on the property, because then it's a bigger issue.
Well, Karen, you're getting this conversation, we can build that right into the conditions, you know. I think really, Council, it'll come out the way we want it, but we also want to move forward on it.
Well, I understand there should be a pole there, but I believe that it should be on the street side.
Okay, well, that.
No one's disagreeing with
We'll
that.
put that in, we'll put that in as one of the conditions.
Regardless of the ownership, Counselor, that's, you know, they can do that next week if they want to. There's no point in getting into a property dispute or engineering or whatever. They can put it in next week.
Can we assume the sidewalk is the boundary of her property? That's something that our engineer will determine.
Of the plans
Probably survey.
that I have and doing the deed references and whatever, I believe that grass, it belongs to BB Realty. We have not had a survey done.
Yeah.
But I believe that it does.
So we're gonna go out on the street side anyways of the sidewalk. That's what our condition will be.
That's correct.
So that will be probably, those sidewalks are probably 5 feet from the property line there. And as I think we agreed, pole 5 will line up with the other poles down Manning Street.
Well, there would be consistently down that side of the street,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. President, do you have a couple more comments?
Mr. Chair, make the motion to approve it with the standard conditions, with the sidewalk, with the pole on the street side of the sidewalk. And if National Grid doesn't like it, they're gonna let us know in the next 3 weeks that it doesn't work, and they can tell us why. I don't see what the issue is.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Logue.
I guess I prefer the language that the engineer has put in there, stating National Grid shall confirm the new pole and anchor are located in the public way. If that means on the street side, that's where it goes. If it means they can put it somewhere else, they can put it there, so long as it's in the public way.
Well, would we want them to put it in the middle of the sidewalk?
I am doubting that they can, because I'm betting the sidewalk is not,
Probably not.
Yeah, they're not gonna put it in the middle of the
Older
sidewalk.
street, so, you know.
so I'm betting that it will be on the edge of the sidewalk, but I don't know why you
By
have to
the curb.
specify that. Just say, put it in the public way.
And that's part of the conditions.
I mean, the standard condition says you have to get an easement from the property owner. The property owner obviously isn't going to give him an easement, which means it's got to be in the public way. And I'm sure that the engineer will make sure that they are where he wants them to be. But it's your call.
Well, we'll vote on it. Do you have a comment on it, Counselor?
No, I just, no, sure, just that referencing what the city engineer did put in, that condition is in there already in the public way, which they look at when they were making this decision for these added conditions, so I'm fine with that.
Well, I do like, though, the street side. Then there's no doubt. The National Grid will know where we want them to put it.
Absolutely.
And the added comment on that is, we're pretty confident that it lines up with poles 1 and 2 further down Manning Street.
Just to clarify, 18 is being replaced, but in its current position.
What's that?
18 is being replaced on the street, the main street there.
Yeah, on Mechanic Street.
It's not being moved, you know, maybe a foot or something. So that, if you now put point or -5, the new of the sidewalk, you're creating a more drastic angle for that anchor. So you're creating a more drastic angle for that anchor off the new pole, which could then put, without, I haven't been out there, but that could put that anchor in the sidewalk or right in the street where cars could hit it. So I'm sure they looked that over between the city engineer and our engineer. Now you're kind of jetting out instead of going straight down the path. Even though the first pole 18 starts at kind of an angle, you know, from the main road, it's still, they're trying to keep it all in line going down Manning. If you now jet it into Manning with that first pole on the other side of the sidewalk, you're creating more of a drastic angle for that anchor. And that's probably where the issue lies. And the only other, you know, if 18 were getting relocated, right, you know, right in the very corner of the street where the two walkways meet, I don't think that's preferable because of traffic. You know, it's right there on the corner, and you get sidewalks.
Yeah.
That would be the only other option. So it does go straight down the side
Down Manning
of
Street.
Yeah, I mean that would line up. But again, I don't know if you want it there because now it's a safety issue as far as being right there on the road. So.
Well, I think the important point is here. Bibby's Railroad, they don't want it on their property.
Right.
All right? And the next best thing is, if we tell them where we want it with the condition, we're telling them that we want it on the street side of the sidewalk. You know, rather than just, you know, I think we're telling them where we want it. What do you think?
I'm thinking, Mr. Chair, that when the engineer looked at that, going at that angle, I'm thinking that's where they would have to resolve that in a public way.
Well, by us putting the condition just a public way, it gives their engineer, in conjunction with the Department of Public Works, a little leeway there.
So you,
And like Kidney said, you know, we don't want it in the middle of the sidewalk.
Right.
But we do want it
on the street
away
side.
from Bibby's property. And we want it, the next logical point is 5 feet of whatever the sidewalks are, and put it right on the curb.
So you would like to have that street side language?
What's that?
You'd like to have that street side language, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Then it takes any question away. Okay, so let's get back to where we were at. I got all kinds of notes here.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yeah, okay. Yes,
add
sir.
one thing? Second condition, I guess, that the pole not be located more than 15 feet from Manning Street. Because if you look at exhibit number 2, there is a window, or windows that are on that building. So if they move it down to 20 feet, it'll be in front of those windows. I don't know how close they stick to the 15 feet.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of those stakes. There's 2 stakes there now.
Well, the stake is at 15 feet, but,
Okay, that would be fine.
yeah.
That's the other side of that window that we're looking at. I think, yeah, that's the other side of that window. Let me see, where did my notes go? I should do my notes in colored paper. Oh, here we go. Okay, so Karen, in your notes there, you have one condition is that it'll be on the street side, is that correct?
Yep. New pole should be located on street side of sidewalk, standard conditions, and responsibility of N-Grid to confirm new pole and anchor are located in public way prior to placement.
Now, the other condition you suggested that pole stays away from that window?
Which it should if it's at that 15 feet.
Yeah, as long as it stays within the 15 feet. If it starts wandering down Manning Street,
Okay, 15 feet from the pole on Mechanic Street.
pole 0.05 or whatever.
Yeah, well, pole, in other words, pole 5, the new one, should be 15 feet, probably from pole 18.
From pole 18, yeah.
Could that be a worthwhile condition, or how much leeway do they need?
They can adjust that either way if necessary, if, I don't think that's an issue, really. I'm sure they tried to place it where it's not directly in front of the windows along the building.
Yeah, well, you can see the windows on here. There's no windows, then all of a sudden, halfway down the building, the windows start. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure they're west of those windows. So Karen, what do we want to do? We want to put a condition in that the pole will be,
So, pole number 505, no further than 15 feet from Manning Street to avoid placement in front of windows. At what number, Mechanic?
From
pole,
Mechanic Street.
mechanic pole is pole 18.
It's pole 18.
Yes.
And what's your house number?
115?
With the number of your building?
Property, 115 Mechanic Street.
115.
Okay. Anything else we,
I don't think so.
Davey, do you have anything else you want to?
I just make sure that it's no longer the push brace.
Oh, yeah.
order, And then it's
Well,
the new order.
we're going to take that because we're going to
Amend it, yeah.
council order. That's, and that'll take that brace away. Council Brown, do you have any other additional comments?
No questions, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ready for a motion, Mr. Chair?
Well, I got to give our president a chance. You're the electric guy, so we're all set to move on this. Okay, what we have to do, though,
First have,
Council,
yeah,
is we have to amend
correct.
the original order that will include that we are putting in an additional pole, 2 guide wires.
Yes. Motion to approve order number 22-100-8739 as amended, looking at the diagram of adding the pole P05,
Yes,
push side,
okay, with 2 guide wires.
with the 2 guide wires, with the attached conditions and the added condition from the city engineer, additional condition, if this petition is approved, stating that National Grid shall confirm that the new pole and anchor are located in the public way prior to the placement. At this time, it is unclear. Placement on the street side, no further than pole P18, more than 15, not going further than 15 feet of pole,
From pole 18.
of pole P18, correct, Mr. President,
You have all that, Karen?
Mr. Chair.
Seconded.
Okay, so that's our motion. Do we have a second on that?
Yeah, seconded.
Okay, all in favor? 3-0. Okay, I think we're all set on that.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Seconded.
Second that, all in favor? Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.